Blake, and Ashley went with me to Nicaragua last year and are going to be leaving with our trip to Nicaragua, our short-term trip to Nicaragua this year in about a month. They're going to be leading that trip, and I guess I'm going to be leading it home because they're going to be staying for a year in Nicaragua. And so we're excited to just talk with them a little bit about just the importance of short-term missions. So just want to ask you guys a couple questions, and you probably want the microphone, right? Yeah. So we'll start with this. Tell us a little bit about how a short-term missions trip has affected your life.
It's affected me by changing my perspective on how the rest of the world lives. It's really made me realize that we are a minority in the sense that a lot of the world is suffering a lot more than we are. And also just that we take so much for granted, just the convenience of being able to go to the store and get whatever we want, or a hot shower. They may not be able to do that. And that just makes me think of when God told us that when much is given, much will be required of us. And it's just one thing to see pictures of it and hear about it and watch videos, but it's another thing to go and see it with your eyes, because it's not something that you'll ever forget. So it definitely changes your perspective.
Mm-hmm. That's good. All right, how about this? What's like the experience you had that, or maybe that someone else would have if they were to go on a short-term missions trip?
Okay, last year we went to Nicaragua and we worked with 2 orphanages, and we did, as our team, we did community outreach, children's outreach, and a feeding program. We did kind of a festival type thing. We painted faces and painted the girls' nails and just played games and just kind of helped give them a childhood where they can have fun, and we did that in the orphanage and in the community, and some of our team members were able to share their testimonies. And it was really awesome. And then we did a feeding program where we
I was in charge of the
failed
potato sack race.
Failed potato sack.
It was amazing. I crushed it.
Literally.
It's amazing. I said this in the first service, but there's a language that kind of passes through all borders, and it's the language of joy and kindness. And when you take that, it doesn't matter what language anybody speaks, that you can effectively share the love and hope of God with them. Go ahead.
But also, you'll experience a different culture, and it's definitely, like Ashley said, it's different to experience it rather than to hear about it or read about it or Google it. But it's really cool just to see how different people live, and it's not wrong or right, it's just different, and it's really cool to see that firsthand.
Amen. Amen. Tell me just what was an awesome moment, one of your favorite moments from that trip last year?
My favorite moment was the mountain behind the orphanage that we had to hike. It was very, very difficult. And the only thing that got me motivated to get to the very top was that Rachel Wheeler was behind me, and she was pregnant, and she wasn't complaining. She didn't say a word. And I was like, I cannot complain right now. Like, she is a superwoman for doing this. So,
she is.
so that's what got me motivated to get up there. But once I did, it was totally worth it. It was so awesome, the view, and just that I was pushed to get up there. But just a couple of other things is, like he was saying, that universally, like something like soccer for us was a way that we could bond with the kids. I didn't know a lot of Spanish, they didn't know a lot of English, but we could share in that experience and just kind of laugh and play that game. And also, we formed so many relationships just on the short-term team, just being like for a week. And those are people that we will be best friends with for the rest of our life. So it's definitely something that you will not regret doing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you guys are going back for a year, and that's a pretty big commitment, but it's amazing. But what is it about that experience that you had that makes you say, I got to go back?
We had been on short-term mission trips before, and we'd always kind of been passionate about missions, but it was never really real to us, I guess, in a sense. But just while I was in Nicaragua, I remember I had just figured out the plans for my life and my career goals. I was like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do now. And then God just kind of totally crushed those. I was like, that's not what you're gonna do now.
That's kind of how it works. Right?
But I just remember being there and being like, nothing gives me more joy and satisfaction than what I'm doing here in this, and I want to do that. And I don't want to go back to my everyday normal life that's centered around Blake, and I couldn't turn my head away and ignore the help that was needed like she said, the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. It's very true.
Yeah, that's good. And why should everyone here go on a short-term missions trip in their life?
I'm a firm believer that everyone should go on a short-term at least, because if you do go on a short-term, it probably won't be the only trip you go on. You may end up being there for a year like us. But it's just an awesome experience. One thing that really encouraging for me, and as I think everybody should do, is just to go to meet the missionaries and talk to them, and just to realize that, like, I used to think missionaries were these super Christians, and I was like, I want to be on their level one day. But really, you just realize that they're just real people, just being obedient to the commandment that God's given us, and it's just awesome to interact with them and experience that. And also, a lot of ministries, teams help them survive. I know, I think with Sandy, that when the teams come, you're not paying for just your own food and supplies, you're also paying for the children to eat for that week. So in your work and labor, you're also supporting them financially, and it's something that they need. They can't do it by themselves, so they need help.
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, if you've never been on one of these trips, it's one of those things that everyone should do in their lifetime, and it's a big commitment, and it takes time, and you got to take time off work. But there's nothing that will change your perspective, and there's no greater experience that you can have than to go on one of these short-term missions trips and see life and see God move beyond your borders and beyond what's comfortable for you. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to challenge you to do that. You guys give Blake and Ashley a big round of applause.